Well, we're not working with all of the information because we don't have a lot of video from before the tragic event in Minneapolis today. But the video that we do have shows that there was a woman in an SUV who was stopped. ICE agents went to her car. They seemed to want her to get out of her vehicle. She refused to get out of the vehicle, started to try to drive away. Another ICE agent had moved toward the front of her vehicle. During this time, I want to note as she appears to be starting to try to drive away, she's turning her wheel to the right the whole time. Her wheels, if you watch the video, are pointed a little bit to the left to start. And she's turning the wheel as she is kind of slowly trying to get away. There are some people who are saying she's going straight and right at the ICE officer who was briefly standing in front of her vehicle. That is not true. In any case, the ICE officer in question gets toward the front left corner of her vehicle, and it's very difficult to tell in the video. But again, it appears that the driver is turning the wheel to the right and trying to get by the officer rather than run into the officer. In any case, he seems to believe that he's in imminent danger, and maybe he really did believe it. And in any case, he draws his firearm, and this all happens very, very quickly, and he takes several shots, at least one of which hits the driver in the face, and she is killed instantly. Of course, the vehicle drives away a little bit before it crashes into a pole and stops there. But I assume, let's say, that the driver was killed instantly. I do not think that this agent will be successfully, let's say, charged with a crime. You might have an aggressive prosecutor, especially in a state like Minnesota, that wants to give it a try. I do not think it will be easy to convict this officer of a crime here. I think he can plausibly say that he felt risk for himself or others, and so he used lethal force. That said, just because it might be legally justifiable, to me, this was not a good shoot. Just because something is technically legal or you can get away with it, I don't think this was a good shoot. I think that she was already kind of by him. He was already kind of more on the side of the car than the front of the car. And it appeared that at least some of the shots went through the side window. Again, it's very hard to tell because the video moves quickly, and but it does seem like at least one or two of the shots went through the side window. I could be wrong about that. Could be wrong about that. In any case, it did seem to me like the officer could have jumped out of the way, and in any case, did not need to shoot this person in the face. This is another one of these stories that we have so many of lately where there are no good guys. The driver of the vehicle is not a good guy, right? And the police officer, again, they're both probably doing what they think is right. I say police officer, federal agent. I'm sure they're both doing what they think is right, but that driver shouldn't have done what she did, and it was not a death penalty offense, and that officer should not have shot her in the face. So it's lose lose. It's lose for ICE. It's lose for that woman and all her family and friends. It's lose for the United States of America. And I think it's fairly likely to turn some people against these ICE operations, people who otherwise are kind of agnostic about it, right? The people who absolutely love it are going to keep loving it. The people who absolutely hate it are going to keep hating it. But there are going to be some normal people out there who have been kind of on board saying, yeah, we should enforce our border. We should enforce our laws. We do have too many illegal aliens in the United States of America. And Trump campaigned on getting many of them out of the United States of America. So I can go along with that. He said he was going to do it and he's doing it. But now a woman's been shot in the face. So look, I just think there's, as I said, no real good guys here. And what you're going to have is hardcore partisans on both sides. One side they'll say that the ICE agent was absolutely justified, and the other side will say that the ICE agent had absolutely no right to fire his firearm at all. And I think they are both wrong. I think this is a very close call, right? So again, I don't think that this agent will be convicted of a crime, but I also don't think he should be on the job. I think that that agent poses a risk to public safety based on that behavior. Now, the last thing I want to mention, and this is just a perfect exemplar of the United States of America in the age we're living in right now. I posted a comment on X, formerly Twitter, saying a very short version of what I said just now. And I want to share with you two tweets that I got in response, or two responses that I got, and these are back to back, one and then the other, with nothing else in between. So I'm gonna move my eyes over here so I can read them to you. The first one says, "She deserved everything she got. Cars are weapons, same as guns. You don't wait to see what happens next in a dangerous situation. You act." So that's one. And then a few minutes later, and again, no intervening response to me. This is the very next one. "It's absolutely disgusting. The agent's life was not in any way in danger. This is murder, full stop." Look, I think this is a close call, and I'm not trying to be wishy washy here. These are difficult cases, difficult situations, and they are, as a football commentator might say, a bang bang play, which makes it very, very difficult to judge what was the right thing for that agent to do, right? But I would say, not so much as a matter of law, but just as a matter of what should have happened in a situation like that. I think this is as close to manslaughter or some form of murder as it is to self defense. I realize that is not going to be a popular take among some, but that's how I see it.